Hi, everyone. Susan Gerbic here. Just was tagged in the last hour or so by somebody named Gideon Reed. Don't know who that is on Twitter. It says that somebody named Jenny Randles, Randles, who one of the most prolific, she's published 50 books, exclamation point. Notable and frequently cited authors on the UFO topic is nominated for deletion. What is this vandalism nonsense? They tagged Susan Gerbic and they tagged Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia is going to respond. You guys, Wikipedia is not going to respond, but I will if you ask me a question, you're polite about it. So, of course, they tagged hashtag UFO Twitter and UAP Twitter, but X, but okay, so that means everybody descends and starts accusing GSoW and Susan Gerbic of being these horrible human beings who are going around and deleting Wikipedia pages for UFO community and blah, 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 and not checking to see what is actually going on. So I responded by saying, here's the deletion discussion. Why don't you look at it and see what it says? And it will explain to you what it is. Okay. So I hate to be condescending, but my gosh, how many times do I have to say this? All the information is there available to you. So when you post on Twitter, like, hey, people are attacking this, it's like, well, why didn't you research it a little bit and look into it? I mean, because I would think the UFO community would research things and not just blatantly share stuff without checking it up, right? I mean, you want to look like you are researching and doing good work, not just getting all hot and bothered about stuff. So let's make a video here. Sorry. Let's see what's going on. I'd never heard of this woman before. I'm so sorry. I do not follow much of the UFO community. So let's see. Okay, here is the Wikipedia article as it exists at this moment on September 8th, 2025, my time in California at 9:20 p.m. And that's important because this page is going to change a lot over and over and over and over and over. All right, here's the article right here. Jenny Randles. All right. So this is the article as it stands right now. Lots of books and a lot of citations. So it looks pretty darn good, right? Okay. So what you're looking at right here is what you're seeing right now. Let's look at the history of the Wikipedia article. And you can see a lot of edits taking place recently. Let's go to, do you see where I clicked, you guys? Just on the history tab. See, that wasn't hard. You don't need to be an editor. You don't have to be signed in. You don't have to have an account. All edits on Wikipedia are public. So it looks like that there was an edit made in 2023, and then there was an edit made in 2025, August 27th, by Chetford, who is an administrator for Wikipedia. He has been putting a lot of things up for deletion that are UFO related, but I suspect he puts a lot of things up for deletion. And the only things we're noticing are the ones that are being pointed out by UFO Twitter. But I think he's probably doing a lot of different articles. So Chetford, I do not know. He's not part of my community, but I have interacted with him a bit on Wikipedia because you guys have been tagging me all over Twitter. And so we tend to work on some of the same topics. Anyway, he has in the past, and I pointed this out, has nominated multiple pages for deletion that are in bad shape, just abandoned, forgotten Wikipedia pages. Almost nobody ever edits. And what he does is, I think this is what's going on. He puts them up for deletion, and then everybody just freaks out and they rush over to save the page. And then it ends up becoming a pretty nice page because people have gone to the effort to hurriedly try to save it and make edits to it. And then the page is saved. And Chesper is the one who usually is the one who ends up rewriting the Wikipedia page, and it's fine and it's in great shape. And I've made some videos on this already, but I think that's what's going on. It's equivalent to, when, what was it? Was it Huck Finn who was painting the fence? And he's like, wow, this fence is a mess. I mean, this painting is so much fun. That's what he says. This painting is so much fun. And somebody says, oh, that does look like fun. I'd like to do that. And he's like, well, I'll charge you and you can paint for me. And they have to pay him a penny or something like that. And the next thing you know, all these people are painting the fence and Huck Finn is over there laughing. Not that I think Chetford is laughing, but I think that one of the easiest ways of getting attention to the subject that needs to be done is to put it up for deletion. And sometimes that works and people rush over, and I don't know, but I would assume it doesn't work sometimes. But then again, I'm not following Chetford. So I don't really know, but that's just my guess. It seems to be working. So, all right, let's go look at the pages it was, and I'm going to show you how to find the pages it was when Chetford put it up for deletion. So we can see 2023 and 2025. So if we click on this button right here where it has 7/23, March 25th, 2025, the last edit was made by this person, Bruce Lee, who was reverting an edit by some anonymous IP editor. Okay, so let's click on this, and this will tell us what the Wikipedia page looked like what Chetford was seeing when he put it up for deletion, an article of deletion, AFD, which is nothing like what it looks like now. Okay, so ignore this yellow part up here. This yellow banner is saying this is a past article. You guys just saw me click on it. So it says, all right, Oz factor redirects here. So if you're on Wikipedia and you're looking for the phrase Oz factor, it redirects to Jenny Randles Wikipedia article. And it says there's, I guess, a Oz factor album by For Unwritten Laws in 1996. So don't get confused with this music album. This is a different phrase. So that's what it's saying. It's a redirect. So what Chetford is seeing is all these tags right here. This one right here was put in October of 2013. This biography of a living person needs additional citations for verification. That is bad. In other words, hey, people, I'm putting this flag here. I'm putting a tag here, which goes on to a list of other people who watch these things. There's people who look at these kinds of things and they go and they try to fix articles. It goes on a list. So since October 2013. Now, then in 2015 of February, 2 other flags are added. This article has been flagged as possibly containing fringe theories without giving appropriate weight to mainstream views. That was February 2015. Another one says some of this article's listed sources may not be reliable. Okay, so these are flags that were put on here in 2013 and 2015. Now, what that is saying to me as an observer who doesn't really know who this person was, is that we're in 2025 and nobody has thought to take these tags off of here and fix the article, the 3 things that are a problem. Nobody's gone to do that. Now, it's possible somebody could have fixed those problems and then just forgot to take the tags off or something. I mean, it happens. Some people are very, they're worried about breaking a rule or something, and they might say, oh, should I take the tag off? I'm scared. Okay. What it's saying to me is the article is pretty much abandoned and has had very little updates since 2013 and 2015. And that's very sad. So it doesn't mean that the person isn't notable. She's 74 years old right now, and she has written a lot of books. I just don't know. I'm just saying this isn't a popular figure that is in the media all the time. Otherwise, those tags would have been taken care of long time ago. I mean, think about it. All of a sudden, Chetford puts it up for deletion, and people are like coming over to fix it. Well, Where have you been since 2013 and 2015? These things need to be taken care of a long time ago. All right. And it goes on and it has all her books listed on here. So somebody has some OCD because you're only really supposed to list the books that are, well, you don't have to, but it does look a little like somebody is just trying to build a website here. What they should be doing is linking to the ones that have, oh, yeah, they should be linking to the ones that have a Wikipedia page. And these hyperlinks right here are saying that there's a Wikipedia page here, but when you look, it says free registration required. In other words, these shouldn't be hyperlinked because they're not going to a Wikipedia page. If visually, you see the blue links and you think, that's a code for somebody is hyperlinking to the Wikipedia page, but no. So it looks very promotional. Okay, that's just my opinion. And look at how many tags there are. I mean, references there here. UFO evidence, UFO researchers and people, Jenny Randles, retrieved in 2008. This one is Jenny Randles, from 2011. From the dust jacket blurb of Jenny Randles' book, Alien Contact, The First 50 Years. Mysterious object filled in 1964 in Oz outback, not UFO, says Brit government, sci-fi news, archived from the original. And then this here. So to have a Wikipedia article for a biography of living persons, all right, needs at least 3 really good sources. And those sources need to be from notable, independent sources, not a blog, not a website, and not a brief mention of the person. It needs to be an in-depth article about a person, about how influential they are, and it could be positive or negative about them. It just needs to be quality, independent journalism. That's what we're looking for, is at least 3. Now, this Wikipedia article was written a long time ago, and as some of you may have heard me reference before, probably about 2015, 2017, 2012, rules started changing on Wikipedia where they got better at making it so that it was harder to get an article onto Wikipedia that hadn't had a lot of good checks done to it. Now, if you're writing an article brand new and you make it live, it's going to go on to a list that lots of editors on Wikipedia are just watching. And all they're doing is going through and deleting. Boom, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. And what they're looking for are people making Wikipedia pages about their cat, about their dog, about their brother-in-law, about their teacher, and things that don't even have any citations on them at all, or just trolling, vandalism articles. Just, this is nonsense. This is somebody trying to submit a draft and they submitted it as a real article. And they probably take out thousands a day because there's people who are trying to write a Wikipedia page. They think it's funny or something, and they're just wasting people's time. But whatever, we're humans. So there are people who go through that and just, they have nothing to do with a topic. They're just looking at the page and seeing if it passes the basic preliminaries of, does it have citations and so on. If a page comes up and it has a lot of citations that look like they're legitimately good, well, it's up to the editors who are looking through it to try to take, best practices and go in and look and see if, are these citations looking like they link to something? Does these look like, is there some possibility of notability? And I don't know. I've never been one of those editors who is just interested in that aspect of Wikipedia. So I would assume, depending on the editor, they may take more time to look at the article than others. Okay, so I'm saying all this because I'm trying to say that right now it's very difficult, if not nearly impossible, to get a Wikipedia page written about a person, a living person. The rules are very strict. Now, But back in the day, people would write an article and they would put it up on Wikipedia, and then it just sit there and nobody ever noticed, right? Nobody really paid any attention to it because it takes time and it takes discussion. We're all volunteers. Even the admins are all volunteers. I can't even imagine being an admin. That must be a crazy world. So it takes somebody to notice. And this Wikipedia article is, like I said, has been sitting here since 2013 and 2015 with all these tags on it saying, hey, give this page some attention, please. And nobody's really doing it. It looked like when we were looking at the history section, let's do it real quick again. I think we could do it for just this old edition from 2023. If we look at the history section of it, nope, it's going to show me the whole page. So if we look here, let's go a little older. Okay, here we have some edits in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. So it's getting a couple edits a year, like 3 edits a year. Here's 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. Okay, here's 14, 14, 14, 14, 13. So just a few edits a year, and they're just making small little minor changes. This one added 17 characters and then removed 17 characters. Somebody did. This one added unreliable sources flag. This one says this article needs cleanup. Where's Lucky Louie? 2018, he removed the sentence that says, as a free monthly online as part of the website, and somebody put in a spammy website on here, ozfactorbooks.com. So he just removed some vandalism. So don't freak out because the Lucky Louie's on here. And what's this one Louie did? Okay, somebody else put, this was reviled by her in 2017 as a free online publication, and put the same ad and spam link in here. Some account, this spammy account that has only been editing her and the forest thing that she reviewed, that she had done a book on. So they're trying to spam it. And he puts a tag in here saying, this is not an advertising site. Wikipedia is not for advertising. So Louis doesn't put a lot of time in here. He's just taking out the spam that's in here. And then you can see other editors, the same editor who was spamming the site. Here they are again, trying to add more spam in 2019. And if we go forward, see, it takes time to do this, right? You people who are putting things up on Twitter saying, oh my God, something's happening. Look, it takes time to think about this and look this stuff through, but all the information is available for you. You do not need to have an account. You do not need to be a Wikipedia editor. And I'm always happy to explain if it's needed, if you ask me nicely. All right. So some people have gone in here and tried to improve it a little bit, trying to do a here and there again. So in other words, and these ones that say bot, these are bots. These are computer bots that are, as technology improves, Wikipedia goes through and uses it to format, and anybody who works in data science that's watching this video would understand that. So here until we get to Chetsford's August 27th, 2025. Okay, so we haven't looked at the nomination discussion at all. I haven't shown you the talk page. I'm just doing a cursory overview of what so far I see as a Wikipedia editor who doesn't know who this person is. And what I'm seeing is a Wikipedia page that was created years ago, and it had almost no citations on it. And it looks like it was pretty much abandoned. And in 2013 and in 2015, editors said, hey, somebody spend some time on this article and let's get it cleaned up. And until Chetsford put this article for deletion, nobody has paid any attention whatsoever. So that's really sad. Okay, I wanted to look at some of these citations that were here that Chetsford. What kind of name? Chetsford. What a weird name. Sorry, Chetsford. It just doesn't roll off my tongue. Maybe he's British and it's a common name over there. I don't know. Okay, so let's take a quick look. Thank you for staying with me, by the way. And if you have questions, leave them in under the video. All right, here's the citations that existed before that Chetsford found. So I'm going to right click on this, open link in tab, open link in new tab, open link in new tab, open link in new tab. And then this says it's from the dust jacket blurb of her first contact book. So we can't look at that, but that's legit. You can use citations for print only things. Okay, so let me quickly unshare and then reshare so I can make sure I have found what it is we're looking at here. Okay, so this is the first thing I said. Okay, let's accept all cookies. This is WordCat. And what is it telling us? It is telling us that these books were written by Jenny Randles. Okay, so we're not questioning, did she write these books? That's not a question. And we're not questioning, or I should say, Wikipedia in the articles for deletion is not questioning, did she write books? And is she a human being? Did she exist? That's not a question. So just having written books is not enough to make you Wikipedia notable. And you could write 5,000 books and that will not make you Wikipedia notable. There, as I said, you have to have the citations proving that you're notable by Wikipedia standards. If you don't like Wikipedia standards, go open your own Wikipedia or your own kind of website. Good luck to you. So let's look at mysterious object filmed in 1964 in Oz Outback. Not UFO, says Brit government. I hope that's sharing okay. I've had this happen where somebody's trying to share and then they go to another screen and they think they're sharing that new screen and they're not. So I'm just trying to be careful. All right. So this is by SIFY News. This is the Wayback Machine, which is fine. We use the Wayback Machine to archive things all the time because links get broken. So this was from 2010. And it is, I don't know what SIFY News is. I don't know if there would be considered a reliable source. I don't know. It doesn't look like a website. So here is, it's saying, it looks like it's about her. This filmmaker went to investigate the footage in 1996, only to discover the one canister containing the evidence was missing from the National Archives. Okay. So, wait. That's it? That's it. So this SIFY.com has an article. It looks like it's independent of her. It's not like her website or somebody who like that. And they mention her, but we're talking what, just like this is it. This little bit, that's it. So it's not a really in-depth article, I would call. But if SIFY is notable, considered a reliable source, then I guess this is sort of okay. Is it about her? Or is it about her book or her investigation? Because we're looking at a Wikipedia page about her, the human being. Now, is this about her, the human being? It looks like it's about an investigation she did. All right, so not so great. All right. This is the next one. Let me reshare to make sure we have it on the right screen. This is another citation. It's going to author, simonandschuster.com, and it's not giving me, it's a broken link. Again, the question isn't, is she an author? That's not what proves notability. So this website looks like it is just Simon Susher and is going to say she was an author. She's an author. And that's not good enough. Okay, let's go to this one. Aha, let me reshare to make sure I've shared it. This looks like, all right, this is ufoevidence.org. So extra, how would you say that? Extra terrace something contact. Scientific study of the UFO phenomena and the search for extraterrestrial life. All right. This is a biography of Jenny Randles. We are looking for a in-depth article about her, but this is coming from a UFO website that does not have journalistic integrity. This is a like a website or a blog, and we can't use those kinds of things as evidence for somebody to be have notability enough to have a Wikipedia article. So I'm very sorry. It's probably, has good information on it. I have no idea. But we just can't have people writing articles without going to the work of becoming journalists or being published in a place where somebody's going to check your work. That's the point. If people can't check your work, it's not really going to, it's just somebody's writing about it. We can't verify what they're saying. Do they have any integrity to change it if it's wrong? Do they have a reputation that they're trying to stand behind, like a newspaper or a journalist would? Okay, this says the page contains copyrighted material, the use of which has not been specifically authorized by the copyright owner. This website distributes this material without profit. Okay, so I don't really know what I'm looking at here. But this is not a citation that's going to make it for showing that she's notable enough to have a Wikipedia article. I said there needs to be 3. So we've looked at all of the citations that were on the article when Chet's Ford put this up for deletion, and none of these are going to pass. They're all not hitting the standards that you need. So there was 4, and then there's a dust jacket blurb. So if I had been Chetsford and I'd stumble across this Wikipedia article, and anybody out there who's a Wikipedia editor of good standing, you don't want to be your first edit. You have to have some history behind you. I would have put this up for deletion also, because this page is mostly ignored, and those citations aren't going to pass notability standards. So we can't just allow anybody to have a Wikipedia article. It has to have a backing. It has to have a lot of oomph behind it, because otherwise anybody can have a Wikipedia article, and it makes every other Wikipedia article look like, oh, well, anybody could have a Wikipedia page. No, there's a standard there. So we have to evenly across the board have those standards the same. So if you go to the biography of living persons rules, and they're here on Wikipedia, it doesn't say here's the standards for UFO and other people have these other standards. No, it's straight across the board. Now there are some cutouts that in some professions, the standards are a little different. So if you are a professor or a scientist that is publishing scientific content, then the standards are a little different. It's based on the citations of it's partly based on how many times your scientific research is being used by other scientists. There's a standard for it. And since I rarely write those kinds of articles, not quite sure I'm going to explain that well, but I have some people on the GSoW team that understand that better than I do. And there are standards, like you get a rating by the science community, how likely it is that what you've published in a scientific journal is going to be recited by other journals. Anyway, also, some sports figures may have a different standard of notability. And that is like a person who goes, here's the way I explain it. A person who goes to bat in the World Series baseball and is at bat, whether they hit the ball or get a run or anything like that at all, they are already going to have a jump up on the notability standards, because part of the understanding of a biography of living persons is that you have to stand out from beyond your peers. That's why just like anybody can't have a Wikipedia article who's written a book, or a person who's a lawyer, just because they're a lawyer, can't have a book. Can't have a Wikipedia article, or a person who's a doctor, even a specialist, an amazing, wonderful, talented doctor that everybody loves and saves lives. They can't have a Wikipedia article just because of those things, because there's lots of doctors, lots of authors, lots of people who are, have high standards. They're doing amazing things in the world. They can't all have a Wikipedia page. So you have to stand out from within your peer group. So authors have to have a standard higher than just a regular author. A musician has to have a standard higher than other musicians. And I don't know how else to explain that, but hopefully that makes some sense. So if you are a baseball player who's playing on a team and that team makes it to the World Series and you make it to bat, then you are standing out from your peers of other baseball players who are in the major leagues. You have a jump up. Like, for example, if a person is an astronaut and they make it to space, they're more likely to have a Wikipedia page than a person who has the same credentials who never makes it into the astronaut program, or makes it into the astronaut program but never makes it to space. Because a person who's been in space is standing out from beyond their peers of other people who are in the science program, the space program. Does that make sense? In other words, the standards are very high. Okay. So I have other videos on this if you want to have more details on it, but it is a little complicated and hard to explain. All right. So now we've looked at the past. Let's look at the talk page. Now I'm going to show you this because people just go, what are you talking about? How come, where do these tabs appear? What are you talking about, Susan? I assure you, these tabs have always been here. The history of the page, the edit screen, read, article, and talk. So let's look at talk. This has always been here. So, and again, you do not need to have an account. Anybody can read this. So this is the talk page, and it's saying, all right, what is it saying? First time I'm looking at it. It's got some rules: be nice, assume good faith, be polite. All right. Okay. There was a article called Oz Factor, and it was merged into the Wikipedia page for Jenny Randles. The former page's history now serves to provide attribution for that content from the later page, and it must not be deleted as long as the latter page exists. For discussion at that location, see its talk page. Okay. So I guess there was a Wikipedia article written called The Oz Factor. And instead of it standing alone as its own Wikipedia article, it was merged into Jenny's article. And I don't know when that happened. Okay. This article was nominated for deletion on September 29th, 2008. The result of the discussion was keep. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can open that up. And there it is. Okay, let's see. Resharing again to make sure it's sharing okay. This is a deletion discussion. It's closed. You can't vote in it. And it is from 2008. And the person who nominated it for deletion was somebody named Science Apologist, who hasn't edited since 2013. No idea who that is. This person is not notable, simply has not risen to the level of notability we require for biographies. No third-party, independent, reliable sources can be used to verify any of the information in this article. Also see Wikipedia articles for deletion, British UFO Research Association Science. Oh, Association. All right. So then in 2008, people came in and made comments, and you can read this. This is all here. You guys saw how I got here. And I know I say vote. This is a vote, but it isn't about the number of people who vote. It is about the quality of the discussion and the quality of the comments that are left. So I have to be careful how I say that, because I would say, well, go over and vote on it, but which makes it sound like it's, number of people who vote, but it really isn't. It's the quality of the argument that these people are making. And it will have some weight if you look at the person who's making the comment, that they're a Wikipedia person who has experience in Wikipedia, not somebody who made an account yesterday, but somebody who's been around and been making edits for a while. They're going to have a little more weight than a person who just created a Wikipedia account or doesn't even have a Wikipedia account. So it does have some sway. But you can look at these things. This is a big time editor here, DGG. He recently died, and I've gone toe to toe with him many times over the years. He is a stickler. Oh my gosh. So he says sufficient sources for notability in the holdings of the book supported. We do not need people working of fringe subjects to be notable outside of the field any more than we need footballers to be notable outside of football or politicians outside of politics. Good job, DGG. And they're right. So somebody was probably trying to make that argument. So this is 2008, and standards, as I said, are a little different. And the internet was completely a different place. That's almost 20 years ago. That's 18 years ago. So possibly when they made this decision in 2008, they didn't have as good of sourcing as possible as we do now. All right. But the discussion was to keep. Let's go back and look at what else it says on the talk page. Because as I said, I'm looking at it for the first time. All right. So then they're saying that this must adhere to the biography of living person's policy. And you can click on these links in here. It'll tell you all this information. It's saying this is rated start class, which means these aren't really used all that much anymore, but what it's kind of saying is that it's a beginning article and needs a lot of work. It's also listed in the biography section of arts and entertainments. There are people who just work on biographies in the arts and entertainment area. This is also included in Wiki Project Paranormal, people who are in the paranormal world who are interested in that world, either just people are curious or people who really are experts on the field or whatever. Any editor can join whatever. I mean, you could work on they have groups that are just devoted to New Jersey or Tennessee or Scotland or, Nigeria. They have people who have formed groups that are only focused on those topics. And then this is saying that a photograph please be included, because somebody needs to upload a photograph, because you cannot upload a photograph unless you own the photographer owns the rights to the to the photograph. I mean, there's ways of getting around it, but you got to fill out a lot of forms. Okay. So this is 18 years ago, a comment was left, and I'm not going to go over that. You guys can look at this. Here is a whole discussion on crop circles from 2015. It doesn't look like anybody is answered them. Somebody who didn't even sign it. Look at, yeah, we don't even know who wrote that. This one says how to make footnotes. This is something by unsigned commenter. This is a rando person who's saying that she made fake characters out of her book and it's whatever. This is something about sexuality. God, I can't say it. I haven't been talking today much. 2010, there's a comment in 2019, 2021, 2023. Here's something about education. 10 years ago, her education. Here's some citations they put in here. Oh, this is from the person. I think. Okay, I'm a newbie here, so I leave it to someone more experienced to modify the entry. It's fair to make these points. There's a lot of nonsense published about me on the internet. So this person right here is Jenny Randles, and they're admitting it. Okay. So they're trying to say, and this is what I tell people, if you have a Wikipedia article about yourself and you need to make changes on it, be clear, go to the talk page and just post and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to touch the article, but this is wrong, and this is wrong. And here are citations to prove what is wrong. And I won this award, and here's a photo. Can somebody upload it? And so on. All right. So this is something they're talking about themselves. And I think it's because they are have changed and now are female. And so I think that's what this is about. Because it says here, could you specify which parts of your career were pursued as a man? And Jenny never responded. Okay, here's something about the links in the end. So just a lot of la la la. Okay. The gender thing is a topic that's discussed a lot, and Wikipedia is very respectful about that. When we try to use only the name of the person as they want to be called, but there are times when somebody has transitioned and their history of their life was under one gender and now they've transitioned to another gender. And so the article has some confusion about how to deal with that. And I'm like Bruce Jenner. Okay, Bruce Jenner was an Olympian, a very famous man, married, had kids, had this TV show. I don't know a lot about Bruce Jenner, but this is a good example most people have used. So there's a lot of citations for Bruce Jenner. And then Bruce Jenner transitions and now is she and has a different name. So those, and now has made a career in a TV show and has lots of citations under that name and that gender. So the Wikipedia page will try to reflect both parts of that person's life, is what I'm trying to say. So if the citations were made when you were using a different name, then the articles will reflect that. They're not going to go back and change all the citations to say a different name that you're currently using, because that would just be very confusing for the reader. And you can't, and when you're quoting somebody, like you have a citation, a sentence and you're quoting it. And if a person's name is used in there, you can't go and change that quote because it's a quote. So yeah, I'm going to get off on a tangent and try to over-explain that. But the point is, that's what's going on there. All right. So now you've seen the talk page. That's it. All right. Let's go to the deletion discussion. And here's how you get to the deletion discussion. Gosh, I hope I'm recording because my gosh, I'm not going to go over this again. I have to be so detailed and clear to make sure everybody is on the same page. So here is the Wikipedia page now. And as you can see, There's a lot of citations in here now, a lot. And if we went through each one of these, we would understand what's here. Okay, but I'm not going to do that right now because this video is already over long, and you could look at it yourself. All 6 of you are watching this video. All right, so the deletion discussion is right here. It says deletion discussion, and I think it'll go right to it. Okay. So here is the deletion discussion done by Chetsford on August 27th, 2025. I should make sure it's sharing. Okay. Sorry. You keep seeing pictures of me. Kick it back in my office. Okay. So here's the article for deletion. Second time it's been nominated for deletion. Chetsford's argument is, okay, this biography of living person has had unresolved citation tags on it for the last 12 years. We all saw that, 2013 and 2015. The biography of living person is currently sourced to 5 non-reliable sources. In other words, UFOevidence.com, or non-independent sources, which are the author's own books. A Wikipedia before, it says here, before is a policy for Wikipedians have discussed if something should be deleted. Finds Randles widely quoted in reliable sources on the subject of UFOs, but not subject to SIGCOV, not to significant coverage. So Wikipedia editors are talking to each other in a different language because they are assuming that whoever's reading this are also serious Wikipedia editors. So anybody's a newbie, you have to go and look at these citations to see what they do. If you click on it, it'll go to the article. I'm not going to do that right now. Actual biographical treatments of the subject are limited to the usual UFO blogs and cruft sites. I don't know what that is. Fails Wikipedia GNG, General Notability Guideline. And then this is what Chetsford says. Okay, so then he puts it into, he puts up the article for deletion into the topic of authors, women, paranormal, and United Kingdom. Somebody does that. So what it does is it notifies people who follow the topics of authors, women, paranormal, and United Kingdom to let them know that this article is up for deletion. Hey, everybody who's interested in those subjects, this article is up for deletion. Come over and give us your opinion on what you think, right? So that's how it's done. It's put out to the masses of other people who might be interested in this subject. Okay. Also, there's a little star here. If you click that star, it goes onto your watch list. And that means if you are interested in the topic of Jenny Randles, then anytime the article is changed, you will get a notification saying that the article is changed, and you can go and look at the change that is made, and you can decide if you want to revert that edit or if you're okay with that edit or whatever. So there's lots of ways of knowing if an article has been changed. All right. So then we have discussions by editors. This editor named Oak Tree says keep. See how they put it at the beginning right here? For the simple fact that the 2008 articles for deletion list several book reviews and a biographical entry in the Gale source, which would seem to pass author on these alone. All right. So somebody named Oak Tree just went in and said, well, the 2008 nomination for deletion said that they passed and it was fine. In other words, they didn't really look. They just said, let's keep it. And then Chetsford says, I saw no book reviews that would meet the notability for people who are professional authors, criteria listed in the 2008 articles for deletion. The 2008 article for deletion consisted almost entirely of arguments to avoid in deletion discussions, just pointing to a policy or guideline. Like, clearly notable, and everyone who likes UFOs knows her, and things of that nature. Okay. Oak Tree again. This comment, keep. She has an entry in Gale's contemporary authors, which by itself is good enough for me. I can't link to it, but I'm sure someone else can verify it's there. In other words, this person saying, I haven't looked, but if it's there, that's good enough for me. Her books can be found in hundreds of libraries, and she has been described by the Austin American Standard as one of Britain's leading UFOologists. At ProQuest, there are abstracts of her book reviews, both unfavorable and favorable. Okay. All right, so you can read about this outside of the sex change section. Most of the details are just basic facts about her book. This is signed by the same person, Oak Tree. So here's Chetford again, I think. Yeah. And Chetford is now a little, in my mind, a little irritated because these Oak Tree has just answered the article for deletion discussion with just like, I'm not going to do any work and actually look at this, but I read through the deletion discussion in 2008, and if that's good enough for them, that's good enough for me, even though it's 2025 now. So here is Chetford. He says, he's trying to go piece by piece. She has an entry in Gale's contemporary authors, which by itself is good enough for me. So Chetford says, I checked Gale's and I'm unable to verify this to be the case. He's written it in green, so it makes it really easy to read. Her books can be found in hundreds of libraries. Well, that's not notable. That's irrelevant for notability, and that's true. She's been described by the Austin American Standard as one of Britain's leading UFOologists. Well, Chetford says, I checked that and I can't find it. This one says, at ProQuest, there are abstract book reviews, both favorable and unfavorable, blah, blah, blah. And Chetford says, again, I'm having trouble locating these. All of these have a public-facing web presence, so I'm unclear why this commenter, in other words, Oak Tree, is unwilling to provide any details by which these alleged book reviews could be verified. In other words, you're just sitting here making claims, but you're not actually going and looking. And here's Chetford, who's having to do the looking. That must be very annoying. All right. This space tends to be occupied by persons who often, usually innocently, make exaggerated claims unsupported by reality. Ooh, Chetford. That's something. Well, I'm not saying that's the case with this comment from 17 years ago. Is a core content policy on Wikipedia, and simply averting stuff exists, but that for some undefined reason, it can't be proved. It's problematic in my opinion. Okay. This person, I don't know, I'm not going to pronounce that, has gone in and said, well, I don't know if your searching ability is cursed or something, but I found all these reviews that Oak Tree had mentioned. They're quite a lot. And then they put all these citations, literally dozens, including skeptic pieces, lots more than this. And not all of this is book reviews. I would keep based on this. Also, a decent bit of coverage on newspapers.com. So Chetford says, I don't care about book reviews. I'm looking for significant coverage. And no, having your book reviewed in half a dozen 20,000 circulation community newspapers does not cause one to crest author book reviews in tandem with reliable source affirming the author created a significant or well-known work of a collective body of work is required. All right. So then there's a little bit of a discussion here between this Parkikiana and Chetford. Okay. So Park says, based on my comment above, I'm voting keep. Lots of book reviews, enough to pass the author from a skim. There is more biological coverage too. If your complaint is that it's unsighted, I'll try to fix that tomorrow. If I don't, forget, ping me. Okay. So somebody named Barian says, delete. The vast number of poorly sourced biography of living persons is the excuse that powerful interests will use to wreck us. And it's a hyperlink to my big concerns of 2025. I guess it's his own Wikipedia user page where he's saying, you know, there's an awful lot of biography of living person articles out there that are badly sourced. And this Park person says, would you change your vote if I address that? And then Bear says, only if you add 3 reliable sources to the article, then ping me. Okay, so Park says, I did a first pass, mostly focusing on sourcing stuff rather than adding material. Everything is sourced now, at least added some new stuff. I'll add more tomorrow. And then Bear says, one article's good from The Guardian. The article about trans people is kind of out of left field. The other article is not reliable. And then Park says, those are just interviews. Her own comments to source her volunteering information about herself, the notabilities from the books. And then Bear says, well, then add 3 reviews from reliable sources. It does get frustrating because it's clear what is needed. And this person named Park is just coming in like, I'm doing it, you know, but then you go back and you look and they're probably not doing it correctly or enough. All right, here is from Chetsford. I'm really resilient. God, I can't talk. To use terminology, this abrasive, but this is just a classic ref bomb. Citation overkill. You're not, he's referring to this Park person. You're not event citing, and I assume haven't even reviewed the sources you're adding. You're just fire hosing links to database entries into the article. He spot checks. Item number 7 that Park put in is a biographic entry to a review of one of her books in something called The Observatory, which, as far as I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, is an Australian UFO zine from the 1980s. It is not a reliable source and it is not significant coverage. Do you guys know what a zine is? A zine is like a comic book. Somebody would make with drawings and stuff like that and some text in it, and it was heavily printed, lots of graphics, and then they would like photocopy it and it would like become a phenomenon in some places. Otherwise, it's just stuff you give your friends. So zine is a certain kind of genre that is definitely not a reliable source. Okay. Item 11 is another biographic entry to a review of one of her books in something called Geographical, which I can find no information on at all. Item 21 is yet another biographical entry to a review of one of her books. It's a 21,000 circulation community newspaper. Okay. The mere evidence that someone somewhere at some zine or community weekly reviewed your books is not sufficient to crest the high standards of author, which requires proof positive the individual played a major role in co-creating a significant or well-known work or collective body of work, in addition to multiple independent reviews and reliable sources, not UFO zines. This is now an exhaustive biography built around one-line mentions and dozens of sources strung together to create a character. It is not encyclopedic by any stretch of the word. Okay. All right. So then this is Park again, who's going in here and is saying, no, the observatory is a journal. It's an astronomy journal. I obtained a copy of this. I did, in fact, review every source briefly. I did not mine each for information as I could have. The only one I did not, okay, blah, 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 something in crop circles. You guys can read this for yourself. Okay. So Chetford says, I did, in fact, review every source. He's quoting Park. Then why are you throwing up links to database entries instead of properly formatted references? And he says, because it's 25,000 times faster to do this, and explains how to do it for Chetford. Chetford says, sorry, don't take it personally, but we have Nancy Mace, who's literally trying to criminalize editing Wikipedia. We need to be cleaner than Caesar's wife. That's not enough. This is what Bear says. Caesar's wife. See, this is a reference Wikipedia thing. In other words, if you say Caesar's wife, you need to be specific which wife of Caesar we're talking about, because there's 4 here listed. So in other words, so we need to be very clear. We have high standards, and you can't just say Caesar's wife. You need to say which Caesar's wife. All right, Chetford says, because it's 25 times faster to do this. Yes, and this is what I find problematic about your approach to AFD's articles for deletion on flying saucer topics. I guess this guy's been talking on flying saucer topics in the past. That is, not doing a careful analysis of the treatment of the subject, but just punching their name into a database, fire hosing every link you can find into the article, and effectively saying, there, prove me wrong. It takes 5 seconds for you to scoop up dozens of links from ProQuest or WordCat without reading them, but it will take me hours to go through and read each one, only to discover, as I did in parallel flying saucer articles for deletion in which you're active. They're all incidental, non-mentions. And yes, the burden of proof is on me as a nominator. So if you want to take this approach, I guess you're entitled, but it's just the height of discourtesy, in my opinion. We're not looking for evidence. She's a real person. Nobody's disputing that. We're looking for evidence. She meets our notability standards. And somebody named Bear says, no, the burden of proof for a biography of a living person is those wishing to keep it. And I meant that, not that. Okay. And Jeff Burt says, oh, you're right. Sorry, I'm processing multiple articles of deletion right now, and I confuse this one with a biography with another one. Okay. So the standard is for people to prove that she's notable, not that Chetford needs to prove she's not notable. So the burden of proof is on people who are trying to say this is a notable person. All right, Chetford, the notable standard is she has written multiple notable books. The answer to that question is yes. Short mentions can be used. Okay, I'm not going to go into this. You can read all this yourself. But what they're basically saying is that the books are getting reviewed. Those citations to those reviews need to be notable, not just a brief mention somewhere. And this is about her. Anyway, okay. Here's some more. Roxy the dog says, delete per norm. In other words, that's not much of an argument, Roxy. All right, but delete per Chesford. I can't really find anything from very polite person. Very polite person is usually seems to be often weighing on the side of let's keep this article for UFO, whatever. I've seen them many times. So they're saying, based on what Chesford has said, I want to delete the article. Also, I can't find anything. In other words, they've looked and they can't find anything. This one is from 5Q5, says, I've added more content and citations to the articles. Encyclopedia.com, and there's probably an entry exists in Gale's contemporary authors, but it's an expensive subscription service for large libraries, requires an in-person visit or an online ID to access. It's clear to me notability for an article is obvious at this point, and hey also applies. Hey is, there's been a lot of improvement in this article since you put it up for deletion, and maybe we should keep it because a lot of people are trying to keep it. So that's not a great argument. All right, Chetford says, thanks for your vote. It seems our general consensus on encyclopedia.com is that the sources it references should be cited, not the site directly. In other words, if you don't cite a citation, you don't cite an encyclopedia, you cite the citations that the encyclopedia uses. In other words, you don't cite encyclopedia.com, you go to encyclopedia.com and see what they use as citations and cite them. So procedural. Da, da, da. Okay, so they're making that kind of same discussion. All right, I checked Encyclopedia of Occultism and Parapsychology, and no entry on Jenny Randles exists. So I think we need to identify where this content you found on encyclopedia.com is originating from or remove it from the article. Let's look and see. So they've cited it. Oops, I wanted to go to a new tab. All right, let's go back. So here is, thankfully, we have online stuff. This is the Internet Archive for, they put the name Randles in, and it's, how do I make this big? Stop screaming at the screen, I'll figure it out. All right, here's the only mention of Randles. There's two results, it says. Randles created the Northern UFO Network, Jenny Randles. So there is this entry. And then on page 357, it's citing a book for Jenny Randles. So that's the only mentions in this, whatever they consider prestigious Gale Encyclopedia of Occultism and Parapsychology. So they were using this encyclopedia as saying back in 2008, I guess, or at least a while back, that she's clearly notable because this journal, this dictionary has an encyclopedia mention of her. So when they use the archive to go in and look at this mention, it's just like she wrote a book and she created this organization. So that's not enough. That's just a mention. It's not enough to prove somebody has the what's it called, reliable sources to prove they have enough for a Wikipedia article. Okay. This is exhausting, isn't it? Much easier just share a tweet on Twitter and saying, look what's happening. Sorry, probably I'm getting a little irritated myself now. So why hasn't an author of books like UFO retrievals, blah, 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 received any critical analysis of their extraordinary claims? That is usually a red flag that indicates an author is not notable enough to have been noticed by mainstream sources. Could she really be the skeptical and respected scientific investigator and present article presence her as? In other words, is she really all that notable when we can't find anything that's saying that she's, notable? I found a couple of critical reviews that say otherwise, and I've added them to the article. So somebody has added them to the article. Oh, this is from Lucky Louie. So Lucky Louie has added 2 articles, one from the Skeptic British magazine and one from the Independent, and they're critical of her, but that's all they've added because that's what they found. He says, but I'd expect a lot more from a truly notable fringe author. If they're really notable, there would be a lot more. So I read that and I said, well, let me try to help out. And I went to Skeptical Inquirer and I found an article by Joe Nickel. And I added it to the article just to kind of help beef up the article a little bit. I'll show you that in a minute. So then somebody added this discussion, this article for deletion in the list of sexuality, gender-related deletion discussions. In other words, people who are interested in the topic of sexuality and gender-related articles will see it and come over and they can like, hey, this article's up for deletion. Come if you're interested, come help, come check it out. Even though that's not what the person is notable for. I mean, if they're trans and they've changed genders, then that is not standing out from amongst your peers. That's just life. So that shouldn't be included in any reason why somebody is notable, in other words. Okay. Especially now that it's becoming more and more common. It's unless there's some other reason out there for it to be a big deal. It's just that's what life is about now. Okay, so here we go. Somebody named Rebecca Green says, keep, as well as reviews and articles already included in this article, a quick search of the British newspaper archive shows many more reviews of her books and TV shows. She certainly meets the criteria. All right, and Chetsford says, as per usual, sources need to be demonstrated, not simply declared. In other words, don't just tell us that. Let's see the citation. And I've read these from top to bottom, but I want you to notice that they're not written in top to bottom. This person right here, Rebecca Green, she left her comment on September 3rd. And so it appears at the bottom because at the time, that's what was here. So whoever Rebecca Green is hadn't read all of the stuff that is there now. And so like I just made my thing a few minutes ago, right here. And it is in the middle of the article. So it looks like my comment was left before her comment. So it's another thing people need to look at when you're in it, when the person who's going to close this and make the decision, it's going to be probably an admin who has nothing to do with UFO topics. And they'll disclose when it's closed, they'll say, here's the reasons why I made the decision I made. somebody will come in and look at this and they'll say, well, this person voted keep, but they voted keep based on what was said in the deletion discussion, the other opinions, but there was only like two opinions. There was only two other votes when they made their vote. And since then, there's been all these other discussions and these other votes. And again, I'm saying the word vote. The word vote is just, it is kind of an odd thing to say, but I mean, leave your comment with what your opinion is. Somebody watching one of my videos before, I did use the word vote and just was like, see, they're just ganging up at the article. They get a bunch of people and they come in there and they vote and they just gangs up on people. It's like, no, it's not what it means. It means it is a vote. Keep, merge, delete. Your vote could be comment. I'm just leaving a comment here, not voting one way or the other, or I could be influenced either way. If somebody could find this reference that people are talking about, I might change I will lean towards a certain way. So that was over discussed for you guys. I probably lost everybody and I'm just talking to myself. Well, that's fine. I don't care. So I did find, I do care. I'm going to a lot of trouble to explain this stuff. So I went to Skeptical Inquirer because it's a place that a lot of people don't go to look to see if there's any. They just do a Google search or they use WordCat or some of these other things to find citations. But there are citations in other places, like Lucky Louie found a citation in the magazine Skeptic, and that's notable, so it can be quoted. It's a journal, has journalistic integrity. Same with Skeptical Inquirer. And so it doesn't always appear in a search engine search when you're just searching. So sometimes you have to physically go there. So that's why it's nice to have people who are in different areas of expertise working on Wikipedia articles, because you kind of know where to go to find things. So I found this one, Skeptical Inquirer, and this is written in 2002. It's by Joe Nickel, who apparently is quoted all over the Wikipedia page, I noticed. And I went and looked for her name. It's mentioned here. So there's this little bit right here, and he talks about, there's three references. Sorry if I'm yawning. 1, 2, and then down here in the biography, he quotes the article. So it's a little bit of a thing. It's not a lot. But I wanted to be helpful and say, okay, I found this and and hopefully it helps. I will put it into the article, and here I'll show you where I put it. It's critical of her, but it is a reliable source. It's talking about her, and if it keeps the Wikipedia article, then that's all good, right? What are we going to do? Just you can't, once the content has been found, you have to put it in. So I added this little bit in here, and citation 32, which goes down to here. Right here. And that's the article I just showed you. So I added a little tiny bit. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but this is kind of what happens. You put it up for deletion, and then people, at least this is what Chatboard's been doing, put it up for deletion, and then people go, it goes on a list that something is going to be deleted. As I showed you, there's a sexual, a list, people who follow this sexual, I don't even know now, I've forgotten already. There's British people, women, what was the other one? Authors and paranormal. Anybody follows any of those categories that is looking, I guess, is going to see, hey, there's an article for deletion on this topic, and I'm interested in that topic, and I'm going to go take a look at this and see what I think. And that way they get opinions from all over Wikipedia that will come in and make the decision. Okay. So when do we know? That's a good question. So there is no time. What generally happens is they put it out to as many groups as they can. Sometimes they relist it by like refreshing it and sending it out again to gain more opinions and more voices to come over to vote, give their opinion on, and to improve the Wikipedia article. So whoever it is that's going to close this article, and as I said, it's going to probably be somebody who's an admin. And there are people who specialize in closing deletion discussions. That's just their expertise. They're not paid. They don't necessarily need to know anything about UFOs or whatever the topic is. They're just going to read through the votes and look at maybe the time they're made and see who has the best argument. And they're going to err on the side of keeping the article. That's what Wikipedia is usually going to do. We don't like to delete Wikipedia articles, especially ones that have a lot of people coming over to take care of, to defend it and try to improve it. They don't like doing that. We generally want content to remain. Somebody's taken a lot of time to do this, so let's try to keep it if we can. I know that people in the UFO world don't believe me, but if you're looking outside of just your narrow worldview of UFO, and you look overall that the rules apply overall, the whole forum, all over the website of Wikipedia. If you had a bigger worldview, you would see that this is the norm, is that they're trying to keep the Wikipedia page there. Yet we have standards. And if an article cannot be proven to fit those standards, then it has to go, or it might be merged, or they might put tags on it to say, there's not a clear consensus. Let's keep this open and look at it again. Some people will be trying really hard to improve the article, and they'll say, I'm on vacation right now, and I know I've got that book at home in my library. Please give me a chance to come home and look at it. And they'll say, yeah, okay, sure. We can wait a little bit longer. I've seen that kind of thing happen. And I went and looked to try to find, I went through some old books. I have a couple thousand books, a lot of them on the paranormal, a good chunk of them on the paranormal. And I went through the books I have, and nothing had her listed on it. Some of the books I have are very old. History of Spiritualism, and encyclopedias of mediumship and mediums and stuff. But so they're too old for her. But I did go and look through some of mine to see if I could find something. And if I find something, I'll put it over here, because not every book is online, right? Not every book is on Google search, or Google Books. So yeah, I might take another look before I go to bed and see if I find anything. I mean, it's possible I might come up with something, but will it be enough to keep the article? I mean, if it's just a brief mention of her starting a UFO club, or she wrote a book, that's not enough. I need quality, not just quantity. So this deletion discussion deletion will probably end when people stop adding quality votes. He put this for deletion discussion on the 27th of August. So about 2 weeks is about normal, I think. 10 days, 2 weeks. So August 27th. Today is September the 8th. So 9, 10, 11, this is 11 days. We're all getting close to 2 weeks. When there's a lull, people stop responding. That's usually when the decision is made. Somebody who's watching these deletion discussions, like it comes up on their list of things to close. Like you have these admins that are committed to closing discussions. They probably receive a list. I don't know. I'm not an admin. They probably receive a list, and this one, this one, this one, this one, and it has like the date they were made. And they're like, oh, okay, I've got some time. Let me go in and close a couple. And they'll sit there and read all the discussion, and then they'll make a decision and close it. And then once it's decided, it's decided. It either stays, like you saw the deletion discussion in 2008, or it's gone, or it's merged, or maybe they're waiting, or they're saying, I don't think there's enough discussion. Let's push this out again and try to get more people to come in and talk about it. But if it's not, if the discussion is, I have searched, everybody searched, people are looking for stuff, people, even Susan Gerbic went and found a citation and put it in here, whether it helps or not. They're trying really hard to look for stuff. Then eventually the discussion is going to be like, well, none of this is enough. You need 3 really good citations from independent, reliable sources with good content about the person, not about a book being published, not saying she's an author, not saying she started a club. It needs to be good quality content. And if it isn't there, I'm sorry. That's just it. It's the rules apply across Wikipedia equally, except in the cases, as I said, there are some cases that are different, like maybe an astronaut or a person who is in the World Series, or what was the other one I gave you? I don't remember now. God, I'm tired. A scientist, because lots of scientists don't do interviews and are not interviewed. They're just working away in their laboratories, publishing research, and that research is used to recite it and make discoveries, and other people find that research really influential. And there's not a lot of information about a scientist being interviewed for a People magazine or New York Times or Chicago Daily News or something like that. So they have different standards for some people who would not pass the biography of living persons standards as they are now. Goodness gracious, this is a long video. I don't even know if I would watch it again. I'll upload it. I'll put it up on Twitter. And the person who, oh God, let's see. Is there anything, am I being viscerated already? Accused of being this evil person who's put this up for deletion, which is what usually happens. Let me take a look real quick before I end the video. All right, there's some notifications here. Wow, this guy's shadow is not very nice. Okay. Messages. I got a direct message. Okay. What's that? No, it's a totally different message about something else. All right. So FYI, just letting you know, I'm here. If you have a question, I will overthink it and over explain it for you if you're nice. And it's interesting. And I haven't already done a video on it. Oh, God, so glad it's recording. I made videos. I thought I was making a video and I didn't hit record. Bedtime. Night all.